The story begins in silence, not the silence of prayer, nor of peace, but the silence that festers in hidden rooms, heavy and unbroken, the silence that listens and remembers. From the ceiling of stone, water drips in slow rhythm, each drop echoing, like a tolling bell, a measure of time that does not pass in the world outside. A solitary flame bends against the damp air, its light trembling across walls slick with cold. It reveals a table of strange offerings, bowls filled with herbs crushed to pulp, jars lined neatly with their contents thick and crimson, basins of water dulled by a darker tint. The air itself seems alive with iron, sharp, metallic, the scent of open wounds, of flesh torn and bound, of something too raw to be spoken aloud. Here, beauty is not a gift. Here, it is gathered like harvest from the suffering of others, a yield taken again and again, a currency bought with silence. The queen enters as if the chamber has long been her cathedral. Her slippers press gently into the rushes laid across. The floor, meant to soften the stone, to disguise the chill that seeps upward like a curse. She is draped in velvet, its hue the deep red of roses left too long to dry, brittle petals clinging to thorn. A veil of lace conceals her face, though it cannot mask the stillness of her features, nor the quiet command in her presence. Behind her, attendants move like wraiths. They do not speak, they do not look. They bear pails between them, steam rising, faintly in the wavering light, the warmth of their burden cutting against the chamber's breath of frost. Their hands tremble, though they do not dare to falter, for in this place mistakes are remembered more than lives. The door closes softly, and the chamber swallows the world beyond. The winter wind scratches at the shutters outside, its claws rattling, the wood as if demanding entry. But within, the air burns feverishly with ritual. The queen lowers herself into the waiting vessel, a great tub carved and lined with hammered copper, gleaming dully in the candlelight. The liquid greets her as though alive, rising to meet her body, curling around her limbs, enfolding her as though it has been waiting, patient, yearning. She exhales a long breath as it consumes her, sinking into its embrace as if into eternity. And so the ritual begins. The court beyond these walls whispers of her. They call her beauty divine, ageless, a wonder untouched by decay. They speak of her skin, pale as morning frost, flawless beneath the weight of her crown. They whisper in corridors and cloisters that time itself bends before her, that no sorrow of years dares to touch her. Songs are woven in her honour, minstrels plucking strings in warm halls while peasants shiver outside. They speak of miracles, but miracles are never free. The walls know. The stones beneath her chamber remember. They bear the stains that no hand has washed clean, no cloth has erased. They remember the trembling feet of servants, the muffled prayers, choked into sleeves, the weight of vessels carried down narrow stairs, filled with what cannot be spoken in daylight. They know the smell of fear. They know the silence that binds the tongue tighter than chains. What the court calls divine, the walls name hunger. The queen closes her eyes, and the mask of serenity softens her face. To those who do not know, she looks at peace, like a saint, deep in. The story begins in silence, not the silence of prayer, nor of peace, but the silence that festers in hidden rooms, heavy and unbroken, the silence that listens and remembers. From the ceiling of stone, water drips in slow rhythm, each drop echoing, like a tolling bell, a measure of time that does not pass in the world outside. A solitary flame bends against the damp air, its light trembling across walls slick with cold. It reveals a table of strange offerings, bowls filled with herbs crushed to pulp, jars lined neatly with their contents thick and crimson, basins of water dulled by a darker tint. The air itself seems alive with iron, sharp, metallic, the scent of open wounds, of flesh torn and bound, of something too raw to be spoken aloud. Here, beauty is not a gift. Here, it is gathered like harvest from the suffering of others, a yield taken again and again, a currency bought with silence. The queen enters as if the chamber has long been her cathedral. Her slippers press gently into the rushes laid across. The floor, meant to soften the stone, to disguise the chill that seeps upward like a curse. She is draped in velvet, its hue the deep red of roses left too long to dry, brittle petals clinging to thorn. A veil of lace conceals her face, though it cannot mask the stillness of her features, nor the quiet command in her presence. Behind her, attendants move like wraiths. They do not speak, they do not look. They bear pails between them, steam rising, faintly in the wavering light, the warmth of their burden cutting against the chamber's breath of frost. Their hands tremble, though they do not dare to falter, for in this place mistakes are remembered more than lives. The door closes softly, and the chamber swallows the world beyond. The winter wind scratches at the shutters outside, its claws rattling, the wood as if demanding entry. But within, the air burns feverishly with ritual. The queen lowers herself into the waiting vessel, a great tub carved and lined with hammered copper, gleaming dully in the candlelight. The liquid greets her as though alive, rising to meet her body, curling around her limbs, enfolding her as though it has been waiting, patient, yearning. She exhales a long breath as it consumes her, sinking into its embrace as if into eternity. And so the ritual begins. The court beyond these walls whispers of her. They call her beauty divine, ageless, a wonder untouched by decay. They speak of her skin, pale as morning frost, flawless beneath the weight of her crown. They whisper in corridors and cloisters that time itself bends before her, that no sorrow of years dares to touch her. Songs are woven in her honour, minstrels plucking strings in warm halls while peasants shiver outside. They speak of miracles, but miracles are never free. The walls know. The stones beneath her chamber remember. They bear the stains that no hand has washed clean, no cloth has erased. They remember the trembling feet of servants, the muffled prayers, choked into sleeves, the weight of vessels carried down narrow stairs, filled with what cannot be spoken in daylight. They know the smell of fear. They know the silence that binds the tongue tighter than chains. What the court calls divine, the walls name hunger. The queen closes her eyes, and the mask of serenity softens her face. To those who do not know, she looks at peace, like a saint deep in holy communion. But peace does not live here. Beneath her breath lies desperation, the frantic grip of one who feels time pressing against her skin and claws it back, drop by drop, with hands that do not bleed. She does not pray for salvation. She believes she has found it. The candle sputters. Shadows lean closer, stretching across the stone as if listening. The basin ripples, disturbed by the faintest movement of her body. The air grows thicker, the metallic scent sharpening until it is all that can be tasted. The queen inhales deeply, filling her chest with the warmth of the ritual, as if drinking from a cup held to her lips by eternity itself. For a moment, all is still, suspended, like smoke held in frozen air. Outside, the bell for morning prayer begins to toll. Its sound carries across the courtyards, through kitchens and corridors, summoning the faithful to kneel and bow their heads. But here, in this chamber sealed by silence, another devotion unfolds. No prayers rise from her lips. No hymns echo in these walls. Only the steady breath of a woman who believes she has conquered time, who believes beauty can be chained and made eternal no matter the cost, yet nothing chained is ever truly free. Even eternity has a price. The last drop falls from the ceiling into the basin beside her, rippling outward, breaking the surface. The candle quivers once more, its flames straining, clinging to life against the damp. And beyond the shuttered window, unseen in the pale sky, a raven circles slowly above the castle roof, its cry sharp as a warning. The corridors breathe with silence, their stones damp with winter's slow exhale. Shadows gather in corners, stirred only by the faint sway of a tapestry that hangs heavy upon the wall. Its threads depict hunters in pursuit, men and hounds frozen, mid-chase, forever striving, yet never reaching their quarry. The woven deer's eyes gleam with an eternal fear, as if it knows it will run until time itself unravels. Through this stillness moves the queen. Her steps are soft, the whisper of slippers brushing reed mats the only sound, yet each one carries the weight of a secret too perilous to speak. She advances with the care of one carrying a chalice filled to the brim, her bearing steady, her face unreadable, as though her body alone can contain the burden that no crown could mask. Below, in the kitchens, a different life stirs. Cauldrons bubble with stews of barley and onion, their steam rising to fog the beams. Knives scrape against wooden boards, bread crusts split beneath rough hands. The smells of hearth and hunger mingle, feeding the household that will wake soon to bread crusts and broth. But far above these simple fires, in chambers where the air is richer, another preparation takes form, one that no prayer of the kitchen folk would dare to imagine. Servants file through the chamber door with flagons in their arms, their lids sealed with wax. Their movements are precise but brittle, like actors in a play they never wish to perform. Their eyes never rise from the floor. When the seals are broken, the air itself recoils. A scent escapes. Copper, heavy, undeniable. The raw thickness of slaughterhouses, of battlefields after the fighting has ceased. It lingers in the throat, coating the tongue like rust. The servants withdraw as swiftly as they can, their faces pale, their silence more desperate than words. The queen's chamber glows with candlelight. Dozens of flames shiver in their holders, the wax running like tears down bronze stems, pooling at their bases like little funerary offerings. The air is close, fevered, heavy with rosemary and mint, scattered across the rushes, a thin veil to mask what cannot truly be hidden. She moves toward the vessel prepared for her. It waits in the center of the chamber, a basin of hammered copper, its edge gleaming faintly in the candle's dance. Her gown trails behind her, velvet whispering against herb-strewn reeds. She loosens it with deliberate care, each movement precise, each gesture as measured as prayer. This is not vanity, it is ritual. It is reverence for a force greater than crown or church, a devotion to the fleeting gift that time seeks always to erode. She disrobes, and in the silence, the air itself seems to pause. She descends into the basin, the surface trembling as it takes her in. Warmth embraces her. Not the warmth of water, nor of fire, but something denser, darker. It clings to her skin, cradling her, as though it has awaited her return. She closes her eyes, sinking into its crimson hold, surrendering to its silence. Outside, the world continues, blind to what unfolds above their heads. In the courtyards, knights draw steel across whetstone, sparks leaping like fireflies as they sharpen for battles to come. In chapels, priests chant psalms into the chill air, their words rising as clouds of breath, their echoes bouncing from stone walls. In the fields beyond, peasants bend their backs to frozen earth, their hands raw, their bellies hollow, praying only that spring will not betray them. None of them would dare imagine that their sovereign, the woman for whom they kneel and bleed, begins her day thus, immersed in silence and sin, bathed in something no holy water could ever cleanse. She tilts her head back. Drops fall from her shoulders, their sound soft yet sharp in the stillness, dripping against the basin's edge. It is the sound of a heartbeat, slow and steady, filling the chamber with its rhythm. The ripples shimmer outward, fracturing the candlelight into trembling shards. For an instant, the sight is almost otherworldly. Pale skin gleaming, candle flames mirrored in the crimson tide, an illusion of eternity. For an instant, it could be believed. But outside these walls, truth gathers like storm clouds. Beauty chained is beauty cursed, and no secret, no matter how deeply buried in silence, can remain hidden forever. The dripping continues. The basin ripples again. The queen breathes deeply, as though she drinks eternity itself. Yet in the distance, faint but certain, the chapel bells toll, and their sound pierces even here, as if to remind her, and all who hear them, that time does not rest, and judgment waits beyond every silence. The candles flicker, shadows stretch, and far above the roof, a raven circles once more, its cry falling into the morning air like a warning not yet heeded. Lightning rips across the horizon, a white wound torn through the belly of night. The storm gathers its fury over the hills, thunder rolling like the drums of war, shaking the earth, shaking the heart. Rain lashes against the castle's stone, skin, running down its battlements in rivers of silver. Each drop seems to strike with the weight of centuries, beating against walls that have witnessed triumph and betrayal, blood spilled and vows broken. Inside the fortress, the storm's rage does not relent, it seeps inward. The great hall is alive with shadows cast by torches that hiss and spit against the damp. Cloaked guards stand like statues, their wool steaming, the smell of rain and sweat rising in the flickering half-light. Their armor glimmers faintly with every flash outside, as though the storm itself wishes to strip them bare. The air hums, with unease, each thunderclap echoing like an omen. And yet, above this restless hall, high in chambers set apart from men and their wars, another kind of thunder brews. Not of clouds or rain, but of ritual, ancient, secret, and feared even by those who cannot name it. Her bedchamber greets the eye with roses. Their petals, crimson and pale, lie scattered upon a chest of carved oak, tokens of grace, symbols of devotion. But sweetness cannot disguise what lies beneath. The roses fade quickly into the heavier presence of iron, thick and metallic, a scent the storm cannot wash away. The air carries with it a strange dissonance, perfume tangled with something raw, as though heaven itself wrestles with the truth of what fills this room. The curtains sway in the draught of an opened window. From beyond, the faint toll of evening. Bells drifts upward, carried on the breath of wind and rain. The bells call the faithful to prayer, to kneel, to bow, to remember salvation. But she does not kneel. She does not bow. She closes her ears to them, for her devotions are of another kind. Before her waits the basin, copper, wide and deep. It holds its offering like a chalice awaiting lips that dare to drink. Steam rises faintly, ghost-like tendrils unfurling against the chill of the chamber. It is warmth made visible, calling her closer, beckoning her as though it knows her hunger. Her attendants retreat as she advances, their movements silent, their faces pale with dread. They step backward, as though distance might protect them from the gravity of her right. None dare to breathe too loudly, none dare to meet her eyes. Their silence is not reverence, it is survival. She is a vision gilded in false serenity. Jewels catch the candlelight at her throat. Her veil falls soft against her shoulders. Her gown clings in the glow of wavering flames. Yet her eyes betray her. They are not eyes of peace, nor of prayer. They are eyes of hunger, endless, gnawing, insatiable. She dips her hand into the basin. The sound is soft, gentle even, yet heavier than thunder. When she lifts it, droplets fall from her palm, sliding across her skin like rubies dissolving into snow. She studies them with rapture, as though in their gleam she sees eternity itself reflected. To the court beyond her doors, she is a legend. Her beauty is sung by minstrels, painted in frescoes, whispered as a miracle from the lips of courtiers desperate to believe that something divine still lives upon the throne. To peasants, her face is an emblem, carved into tapestries and coin, alike, a reminder that heaven has blessed their land with her radiance. But walls do not lie. Stones remember. These walls have heard the whispers, muffled too quickly by fear. They have absorbed the cries, the ones silenced before they could reach the chapel. They have tasted prayers that dissolved into dust unanswered. And tonight, once more, they watch. She lowers herself into the basin, her body descending with ritual slowness, each motion measured, deliberate. The liquid welcomes her as though she returns to the womb of her own creation. It surrounds her, enfolds her, claims her in silence. Outside, thunder splits the heavens. Inside, only the faint sound of her breath, the ripple of crimson against copper. Her eyes close. She sinks deeper, surrendering to the warmth, to the illusion that time itself pauses for her. In this silence, she believes she is untouchable. In this silence, she believes eternity is hers to command. But storms are not blind. The rain beats against her windows with fury, as if demanding entrance, as if it knows what unfolds within. The thunder answers, shaking the walls, refusing her silence, insisting that no ritual, no secret, can last forever against the march of time. Still, she reclines, lips parting in a sigh of devotion, candlelight trembling across her skin. She is reborn in her own myth, a queen who bends the natural order to her will. Yet outside, beyond stone and storm, her people bend beneath burdens that no ritual can lighten. Hunger claws at their bellies, plague whispers through their villages, hope runs thin as the soil beneath their feet. And with each flash of lightning, a question grows louder in the dark. How long before the legend fractures, before whispers become shouts, before stones remember too much? The storm rages on, relentless, and within she floats in silence, as though deaf to the world that begins to stir against her. Grey dawn creeps across the land, thin and hesitant, a light that carries no warmth. The castle wakes to it slowly, as though pulled unwillingly from dreams. Smoke curls from the chimneys, winding into the pale air, the scent of hearth fires mingling with damp hay. Horses stir in the stables, stamping their hooves against frozen earth, their breath rising in pale clouds like the ghosts of battles long past. In the kitchens below, bread swells in the ovens, heavy with yeast and wood smoke, the promise of sustenance for those who labour within these walls. Yet not all rituals of the morning are of fire and flour. Some take place in silence, behind curtains, drawn against the chill, in chambers where truth is never spoken, where faith is bent into something darker. In the upper chamber, she sits before her mirror, a disc of polished metal, framed in carved oak, its surface flickering with the reflection of candle flames. The mirror trembles slightly in the draught, distorting her image as though the glass itself fears to hold her gaze. She leans closer, eyes narrowed, searching her own face as though it were scripture, every line, every curve, every shadow examined with a hunger that has nothing to do with vanity. This is no woman admiring herself. This is a woman judging time, searching for betrayal in her own reflection. Her handmaiden enters quietly, carrying the jug that no one dares to speak of. Its weight is undeniable. Its contents shift heavily with each step, a slow, thick movement that seems to drag the air around it. When the stopper is pulled, the scent escapes, subtle at first, but unmistakable. It does not belong in a chamber of roses and candle wax. It belongs to fields of slaughter, to the iron sting of a battlefield at dusk. The odour clings, an uninvited guest that will not leave once admitted. The queen rises. Her gown whispers across the floor, a serpent of silk uncoiling. Her bare feet touch sprigs of thyme and lavender scattered carelessly across the rushes, their perfume desperate, straining to disguise what lies beneath. But no herb can fully veil the truth. Before her stands the tub, carved from stone, cold and eternal, its veins glistening in the wavering light. Within, the surface trembles faintly, disturbed by currents unseen. It steams in the candle glow, an illusion of warmth that hides the horror of what it truly holds. She breathes in deeply, then exhales, a sound caught between sigh and prayer. Slowly, deliberately, she lowers herself into the basin. The liquid rises to meet her, clinging to her body, wrapping her in a cocoon of scarlet. It surrounds her with a warmth that no fire can give, a warmth that seems to seep into her bones, whispering lies of permanence, of immortality. Her eyes close, her lips part in surrender, and for a moment she is not queen, nor woman, nor flesh. She is something beyond all of it, something eternal, untouchable, veiled in the silence of her own secret right. Outside, life continues unknowing. Monks chant the morning mass, their voices rising from the chapel below in solemn harmony. Their words praise salvation, their tones plead for grace. But their prayers do not reach here. They are muffled by stone and drowned in ritual. Their chants praise a God of mercy, while within these walls another devotion takes form. It is not devotion to heaven. It is not devotion to her people. It is devotion to beauty, to youth, to the fragile illusion that power can be eternal if the mirror is kept free of time's betrayal. She tilts her head back, her hair spreading like a dark halo against the stone rim. Candlelight trembles across her face, softening, erasing, granting her the image of a woman untouched by years. And there, gleaming faintly above the water's edge, rests her crown. It catches the light, a band of gold untarnished, unbroken, a promise of permanence. But crowns are heavy things. They gleam until they are stolen. They endure until they are melted down, and their shine conceals the weight of all who must bow before them. In the stillness, only the drip of liquid echoes against the stone floor, steady as a heartbeat. It is the rhythm of her ritual, the rhythm of her denial. Yet beyond the walls, beyond the smoke and bells, another rhythm beats, a harsher one, carried by fields stripped bare of grain, by children whose cries have grown too weak to be heard, by a people whose devotion grows thin with hunger. She does not hear them, not yet. She reclines deeper into her scarlet cocoon, her crown glowing like a halo, her silence unbroken. But silence cannot last forever, for even as monks sing and bread, risers and horses stamp the cold ground, a shadow gathers beyond her chamber. It is not the storm of last night, nor the whisper of the mirror. It is the murmur of unrest, low at first, then louder. A sound like hunger given voice. A sound like loyalty cracking beneath the weight of silence. And when it comes, not all the roses nor the lavender, nor even the scarlet warmth of her secret devotion will be enough to drown it. Night presses down like a shroud, its weight smothering the castle's towers until they vanish into the blackness above. The walls, slick with dew, glisten faintly under a moon veiled by clouds. Within, the corridors breathe with a dim and uneven glow, torches sputtering in their iron brackets, spitting resin and smoke into the vaulted stone. Shadows cling to the arches, stretching long fingers across the passageways, as if the very stones conspire to conceal what moves within them. The fiend. Silence here is not peace. It is the silence of stone remembering. The silence of secrets buried in mortar and lime. From far away, faint echoes rise. The laughter of courtiers, the clink of goblets raised in her honor. Yet nearer, more insistent, another sound intrudes. The steady drip of water seeping through the cracks above, falling like deliberate footsteps into the hollow dark. Each drop a reminder that nothing, not even stone, holds forever. And here, above the revelry and prayers, the queen prepares her ritual. Her chamber is smothered in velvet, its walls weighed down by tapestries that tell stories of saints, of battles, of holy triumphs. Yet the woven faces avert their gaze, their stitched eyes cast aside, as if unwilling to witness what unfolds in their presence. The air is thick, warmer than the halls beyond, for in the chamber's heart waits a basin of copper, its rim glowing, faintly in candlelight. From it rises a mist, delicate at first, then heavy, carrying with it a scent too sharp, too metallic to be mistaken. Servants hover at the edges of the room, swallowed by shadow. They bow their heads, their hands clasped in silence, as though their very breath might betray them. None speak. None dare look upon her directly. They are witnesses bound by duty, though what they serve is no longer a woman, but a hunger that has learned to wear a crown. She steps forward. The jewels at her wrists clink softly, a fragile chorus against the vast stillness. Her gown of brocade, heavy with gold thread, whispers across the rushes with each measured step. She pauses at the basin, her fingers gliding along its rim, tracing its boundary as though testing the thin line between mortality and eternity. Her touch lingers there, trembling not with fear, but with anticipation, as if she caresses the very edge of time itself. Slowly, she disrobes. Layer by layer, silk and brocade fall away, pooling at her feet in muted cascades. In the flicker of candlelight, her skin glows, pale, unmarked, as if untouched by the years. She lowers herself into the basin, her breath catching faintly as warmth envelops her. The liquid ripples, clinging to her form, rising to embrace her, to claim her. It shines crimson beneath the wavering flames, a living shadow that wraps itself around her body until flesh and ritual become indistinguishable. She exhales. A sound, soft and trembling, escapes her lips, half sigh, half prayer. Her head tilts back, her hair unfurling like dark water across the basin's edge. Candlelight dances across her face, smoothing her features into a mask of serenity, of youth reborn. In that moment, she is not a queen bound to earth, but a vision unmoored, suspended in the illusion that she has broken the covenant of time. To her subjects, she is eternal. To the peasants who kneel in muddy chapels, to the merchants who gossip. At markets, her beauty is a miracle. They tell stories of her skin unlined, her eyes unclouded, her form unchanged, despite the years that bend others into the dust. She is spoken of as blessed, chosen, anointed by the heavens themselves. But here, in this chamber cloaked in velvet and smoke, the truth is written in liquid shadows. The illusion is purchased, not granted. Every gleam of her unchanging face is a bargain struck with silence, a contract inked not in prayer, but in blood. She sinks deeper, her arms stretching along the basin's edge, her lips parting as if whispering a secret only eternity can hear. The mist swirls around her, the air heavy, the silence absolute. For a fleeting moment, the queen believes she has captured forever. But even here, in her crimson sanctuary, eternity trembles. For outside these walls, the torches burn lower. The songs of courtiers grow hoarse. The laughter falters. Beyond the gates, the world groans beneath hunger, beneath plague, beneath the restless murmurs of the forgotten. The illusion may hold within these walls of velvet, but outside, time sharpens its teeth. The basin ripples softly, candle flames bow and gutter. Her eyes remain closed, serene, convinced that the spell endures. Yet stone remembers, and water, drips and silence has never been loyal for long. And somewhere in the distance, a new sound stirs. Low, uncertain, like a murmur carried by the wind. It is not prayer, it is not song, it is the first breath of unrest, threading through the night, searching for ears willing to hear. The queen reclines in her crimson embrace, her crown glimmering faintly on the table beside her, untouched. She believes herself immortal. But outside her chamber, history waits. The chapel bells toll midnight. Their iron tongues swing in the darkness, casting waves of sound across the sleeping valley. Each peal rolls heavy and unrelenting, striking the air like a commandment from the heavens. The hills echo with their morning voice, while above, the castle looms, black against the stars, its towers bristling like the ribs of some ancient beast. On the ramparts, torches sputter in the cold wind. Flames stretch thin, guttering, casting restless shadows that crawl and bend along the stone. The guards stamp their boots against the frost, breath rising in pale clouds. They murmur in low voices, speaking of the long night, of the hunger gnawing at the countryside, of the whispers that drift through villages below. Yet none of them know what stirs in the highest chamber of their queen. None of them suspect the ritual unfolding beyond the reach of their patrol. Inside her tower, the air is heavy. Candles burn in clusters, their smoke twisting upward until it stains the vaulted ceiling. Wax drips in steady rivers, hardening into pale stalagmites at the feet of bronze stands. The scent thickens, herbs crushed beneath the rushes, incense curling in faint sweetness. But none of it hides the other smell, the one that clings to the stone like a wound, iron, sharp, metallic, as if the chamber itself has been cut open, bleeding in silence. At the center of the room stands a basin of marble, carved deep and wide, its surface veined with streaks that glisten in the wavering light. It does not sit lifeless. In the flicker of flame, the veins seem to pulse, as though alive, as though the stone remembers the many rituals it has borne. Attendants linger at the edges of the chamber, their hands trembling as they carry heavy pitchers sealed with wax. When the seals are broken, the air inhales sharply, the scent blooms outward, suffocating, unmistakable. The silence thickens until it feels like cloth pressed over every mouth. She enters, wrapped in velvet. The robe's hue is so deep it seems to dissolve into shadow, indistinguishable from what waits in the basin. Jewels glint faintly at her throat, at her wrists, but they are only echoes, ornaments meant to distract from the greater crown she seeks, the crown of time itself. She pauses before the basin, her eyes locked upon its trembling surface. Then, with a grace born of repetition, she lets the robe slip from her shoulders. It falls soundlessly to the floor, pooling like discarded skin. Her hand stretches forward. Pale fingers touch the surface, breaking it. Ripples spread outward, shimmering in candlelight, as if the basin itself were breathing beneath her touch. She steps in with slow precision, her body surrendering to the crimson warmth. The liquid rises to embrace her, clinging, binding, swallowing flesh until she is no longer merely a woman, but something other, something reborn. She exhales softly, eyes fluttering closed. Her hair spreads across the surface, dark strands floating. In a halo turned shadow, the attendants avert their gaze. None dare look too long, for to watch is to know, and to know is to carry a burden few could bear. Beyond the walls, the night is alive. Owls call from the woods, their cries slicing the silence like warnings unheeded. Leaves shiver in the cold wind, rattling like bones. From distant cloisters, the faint chants of monks rise and fall, prayers sown into the darkness, their voices calling for salvation. But here, within this chamber of smoke and silence, salvation has no place. Only ritual, only blood. Her lips part, though no words emerge. Perhaps it is prayer, perhaps it is simply breath, but her face, calm, still, serene, wears the mask of divinity. In that moment, she believes the lie she has conjured, the illusion she has bought with silence and secrecy. She believes eternity can be stolen, that beauty can be carved from mortality, that time itself can be chained to her will. And yet, the marble trembles faintly beneath her. A candle sputters, wax collapses into its own flame. The world presses on, indifferent. Beyond the tower walls, frost tightens its grip on the earth. Peasants draw their blankets thin against hunger, and soldiers dream restless dreams of war to come. Time does not pause for ritual. It waits, patient, silent, sharp as the frost. The queen sinks deeper, wrapped in crimson warmth, her crown set aside upon a table of oak, gleaming faintly in the shadows. Her eyes close. Her breath slows. She surrenders to the belief that she has conquered the one enemy all mortals face. But history is patient. History listens. And beyond her chamber, the world begins to stir with whispers of change. The bells that tolled midnight still linger in the valley, their echoes carried far upon the wind. They sound not of eternity, but of endings, not of beauty preserved, but of a reckoning drawing near. The queen floats in silence, her body cradled by ritual, her face untouched by the years. She believes herself untouchable. Yet outside these walls, the night carries a question that will not stay silent forever. What is the price of beauty when the world itself begins to bleed?